On the morning of the 6th of June 1944, the world held its breath. The sea turned black with warships, and the sky thundered with the sound of liberation. Most men were told to run forward. Ken Oakley was told to stand still. On D-Day, as thousands of soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy, what if your job wasn't to fight the enemy, but to be a human target? For one man, his mission was just that. He wasn't supposed to charge forward, but to stand at the water's edge, completely exposed, protecting the one person who could stop the entire invasion from collapsing. This is the incredible story of Ken Oakley, the Bodyguard of Sword Beach. It's June 5th, 1944. On a packed headquarters ship in the English Channel, able seaman Ken Oakley of the Royal Navy is listening to a briefing that doesn't offer much hope. A veteran who had joined the Navy in 1940 and fought in Sicily, Oakley was now part of the Royal Naval Beach Commandos, the men whose job was to bring order to the chaos of a beach landing. The senior officer ended his speech with a brutally honest message. Do not worry if you do not survive the assault, because we have plenty of backup troops who will just go in over you. For nearly all of the 156,000 Allied troops about to land in France, the goal was simple: get off the beach and push inland as fast as possible. But Ken Oakley's job was the complete opposite. He was given a unique and terrifying role: to act as the bodyguard for the beachmaster on Sword Beach. An amphibious landing is organized chaos. It's a storm of men, machines, and naval power all crashing onto a few hundred yards of hostile sand. To keep this chaos from turning into a disaster, one man on each beach had total authority: the beachmaster. He was the director, the conductor, the traffic cop of the invasion, controlling the flow of landing craft, supplies, troops, and the evacuation of the wounded. Losing the beachmaster, especially in the first few hours, meant losing control of the beach. The widow of one veteran remembered her husband saying the beachmaster's rank was just above God. To protect this crucial figure, a bodyguard was needed, someone who would stay by his side under constant fire. That man was Ken Oakley. The wake-up call came at 3:30 a.m. on June 6th, as Oakley's landing craft slammed through rough seas toward their target, a slice of Sword Beach codenamed Queen Red. The sheer size of the invasion fleet was breathtaking. Warships of every size filled the horizon, their guns letting out a deafening roar as they hammered the German defenses. Sword was the easternmost of the 5 D-Day beaches, a critical flank for the whole operation. The plan was for British and Commonwealth forces to drive inland toward the city of Caen. But first, they had to survive the beach. The Germans had it locked down with machine guns, mortars, and artillery, all aimed at the water's edge. As Oakley's craft got closer, the naval shelling stopped, and the chilling sound of bullets hitting the ramp began. The coxswains skillfully navigated through deadly steel obstacles hidden in the shallows. Then came the order: down ramps. Their time was up. At 6:10 a.m., 10 minutes before the main infantry wave, Ken Oakley and the beachmaster were running for their lives up the sand, spurred on by the crack of machine gun fire and the thump of mortar shells. They dove onto the beach at the high water mark, gasping for breath. The beachmaster confirmed they were in the right spot, but the mortar fire grew heavier, forcing them to dig themselves into the sand for any bit of cover. The air was a thick mix of smoke, sand, and the screams of the wounded. Oakley's job sounded simple: protect the beachmaster. But doing it was a nightmare. He had to be a shield, a lookout, and a second pair of hands, all while being shot at. As the chaos of the landing exploded around them, the beachmaster started his work, directing the first waves of tanks and infantry. Oakley stood watch, a perfect target on the open beach. Almost right away, a DD swimming tank emerged from the water behind them. The hatch flew open and a voice screamed, asking for a target. A German mortar was tearing apart the incoming troops. Drawing on his combat experience, Oakley shouted back, "About 200 yards to the right, 45 degrees." The hatch slammed shut. A shell screamed over their heads, and a moment later, the mortar went silent. Oakley's quick thinking had just saved countless lives. But his duty was to the beachmaster. As wounded men cried out nearby, Oakley had to fight every instinct to rush over and help. knowing his one job was to keep the man bringing order to the chaos alive. The beach was becoming a traffic jam of wrecked vehicles and arriving troops. The rising tide was shrinking the sand, making the beachmaster's job even more vital. He moved along the water's edge, signaling to landing craft and shouting directions over the noise of battle, with Ken Oakley always by his side. They were completely exposed. The British forces on Sword Beach would suffer around 630 casualties that day, many of them right there on the sand. In the middle of this hellscape, an unbelievable sight appeared. Somewhere down the beach, a lone piper emerged from a landing craft. It was Bill Millen, Lord Lovat's personal piper, who marched up and down the water's edge playing his bagpipes while his commandos stormed ashore. It was a surreal, defiant act of courage that became a legendary moment of D-Day, a symbol of the spirit that carried them through the fire. For hours, Oakley and the beachmaster worked on that deadly strip of sand. They planted flags to guide troops, helped clear obstacles, and brought some order to what could have been a slaughterhouse. The landings on Sword had been successful, but the advance inland was slowed by fierce German resistance. In fact, the only major German armored counterattack on D-Day would happen right in this sector, when the 21st Panzer Division temporarily stopped the push toward Caen. Every tank, every soldier, every box of ammunition that made it off that beach was a testament to the beach groups. And at the center of it all on Queen Red Beach was the beachmaster, kept alive by the watchful presence of his bodyguard. Ken Oakley's role wasn't about the glory of charging a bunker. It was about standing his ground, being a fixed point in a world of violent chaos, and making sure the Allied foothold in France didn't fail at the water's edge. Ken stayed on the beaches of Normandy until early July, under threat of attack the entire time. He was part of a small group of men who did the dirty, dangerous work of turning a chaotic assault into a working beachhead, the very foundation for the liberation of Europe. Ken Oakley survived the war. He passed away in hospital in October 2007 at the age of 86, with his family beside him. He was one of so many ordinary men asked to do something extraordinary on June 6, 1944. His story isn't about a famous general, but about a Royal Navy seaman given one of the most dangerous jobs on D-Day. His bravery wasn't measured in yards of ground taken. It was measured in his simple, terrifying refusal to take cover. He stood on an open beach, a guardian, making sure the artery of the invasion stayed open. Victory on D-Day was the sum of millions of individual acts of courage. It was the work of men like Ken Oakley, the quiet bodyguard of Sword Beach. If this story of incredible courage moved you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories about the forgotten heroes of history. Thanks for watching.